Good evening. Are you ready for another boring white balance testing video? Let's see, it's a bit after 7 o'clock in the evening and it's already pretty dark outside. Maybe there's a little bit of twilight left, but not a lot. Not something you can see through the reflection in the window. Soon we will move into winter time again, and that will pretty much suck for a lot of people, me including. But yeah, it is what it is, and we will have to deal with it. Except if you live on the other side of the world, I guess. I already had a look at the footage that I shot this afternoon, and to be honest, I'm not sure about 4000 Kelvin at all my shooting locations. It looks a bit off. It doesn't meet my quality requirements. So for this next test, I'm going to use the auto white balance, the 4000 Kelvin setting, and I'm also going to shoot a picture of this piece of white paper, and hopefully that will give me the correct white balance. It's not something I like to do for every shoot. It would be easier to just set the white balance to one setting and forget about it, but that's not really an option. I just wish the camera wouldn't change the white balance when I wave my hands in front of the camera. It makes it look a bit unnatural, but my old Panasonic G3 camera was even worse. I did like the footage coming from the prime focus lens. Using ISO 800 definitely improved the quality a bit. So I will use that prime focus lens a bit more. At least I will try it out for my next chapter in the epically boring bar holder remake video. But it is a bit more work. More work to move the tripod around and get to the correct distance. But when using the digital zoom function and perhaps my second camera, I should be able to keep changing lenses to a minimum. I actually looked at some high quality zoom lenses, but those are way beyond my current budget. Okay, now I'm going to set the white balance to 4000 Kelvin and continue repeating this test that I did this afternoon. Alright, 4000 Kelvin. Looks a little bit too warm, too yellow, but it's not bad. And I'm still shooting at f5.6, ISO 1600, 1/50, and with the zoom lens. Alright, next I'm going to shoot a picture and let the camera decide what the white balance should be. So I shot a picture, and this is the white balance setting the camera decided to use. I have no idea how much Kelvin it is, because that's something you cannot really easily see. I don't think it is saved in the EXIF files. It is kind of stupid that you cannot easily repeat this thing. But you can save it in some sort of favorite settings. Okay. Alright, now I'm going to move to the lathe, do the same thing, and then go to the vise, switch the lens, repeat everything, and then I will move next door and repeat everything a few more times. Oh, it's going to be so boring. I hope you guys have some beer. I'm having some Gulpener winter beer. Yeah, it's called winter beer. It probably means that it should be consumed before it's winter. Yeah, tastes funky. Might be pretty old. I don't drink a whole lot of beer. To be honest, I don't really like beer. Or coffee. So I moved the camera to the black Cargo lathe and switched on all the lights. And we're still shooting at f5.6 at ISO 1600 1/50. And I didn't change the white balance. This is the same white balance that I used in the last shot. So that's the setting that was decided by the camera by taking a picture of this piece of white paper. I'm going to set the camera back to automatic now. So this is automatic white balance. Here's my piece of white paper. And next I'm going to shoot a picture of this paper and check the white balance again. Alright, I did the picture thing, but the camera was complaining about the light. It was too bright. So I had to switch off the fluorescent lights directly above the lathe. So I'm going to switch them on again without bumping into the tripod. There's not enough room here, so I apologize. It looks very similar to the first setting that came over from the drill press. And this is 4000 Kelvin. On the little camera screen it looks the same, but I don't know, maybe it's a little warmer. The white paper gets blown out by the fluorescent lights, but that's enough. Let's move to the vise. Alright, welcome at the vise. And I left the camera white balance at 4000 Kelvin. The rest is all the same. 1600 ISO, f5.6, 1/50. Yada yada yada. Here's the white paper, and let's take a picture of it. So I took a picture of the white paper. And this is the white balance the camera came up with. On the camera screen it looks very acceptable. Although according to the light meter the scene is pretty much underexposed. But it is a pretty dark scene. So it might not look too bad on the computer. And this is the automatic white balance. Let's see if the skin tones change when I wave my hands in front of the camera. Hi there. Here's my piece of white paper. On the camera screen it looks all good. So now let's change the lens and go back to the drill press. Now this here is a little extra bonus scene. I just switched to the Sigma lens. And this is the field of view I get with that lens. Now I'm going to switch on the sensor cropping function and check the quality again. All without moving the tripod. Alright, this is with the sensor cropping function. The tripod is still in the same location. ISO and aperture have not changed. On the camera screen it looks pretty decent. Now I'm really going to move to the drill press. Alright. Welcome back at the drill press. I really don't like beer, but I'm trying. So with this Sigma lens I now have changed the aperture to f4 and the ISO to 800. The shutter time is still 1/50. White balance is still set at automatic. Looks like I had a lot more sun than I actually did. Here's my white paper. And now let's take a picture of it. So that's a beautifully white picture. Not sure what the white balance is now, how many kelvins, but it looks nice, good enough. I don't think you need a grey card. A white piece of paper seems to work just fine. Alright, this is 4000 Kelvin. Yay! Still looks white. Skin tones haven't changed all that much. Maybe a little bit too dark, too brown. Okay, that's enough testing. Let's move back to the lathe. I'm back at the black Kerger lathe, and the white balance is still set to 4000 Kelvin. Sorry, I need to flip my screen. Still looks okay. And here's my white paper. Okay, so next I'm going to take a picture of this white paper. But for that to work I need to switch off the lights first. And I will try not to bump into the tripod. I'm using a screwdriver to flip the switch. Sort of a remote control. So that was another beautiful white picture. And of course my white paper is out of reach. And now I need to flip the screen again. White balance looks good, but I should probably switch on the lights again without bumping into the tripod. But that is probably not possible. Okay, did I succeed? I guess I will find out later. Of course, now the effect of the fluorescent lights above the lathe isn't weighed into the white balance setting. But it looks fine to me. Now I need to change to auto white balance. Okay, this is auto white balance, and according to the exposure meter there's a little bit too much light, so I could lower the ISO, but I'm not going to do that. And as a reminder, we're still shooting at f4, 800 ISO, 1/50 shutter time. No change, at least not that I see. White paper. It all still looks white. So next I'm going to move to the vise again. Continue this circle. And we're back at the vise. And I changed the height of the camera a bit to try and keep things more or less interesting. Let me rotate the video light for a bit more light. Okay, that didn't help a whole lot, but it did become a little bit brighter. Okay, this is automatic white balance, and now I will walk around the tripod and wave for the camera. Hello! Piece of white paper on the little camera screen. It looks good. And that's the desk light that's hanging above the vise. Here you can see it. Alright, this is 4000 Kelvin, but you know what? It's almost like the color changed a little bit at the moment I started the recording. Before it looked okay, and now it looks a bit, well, greenish. I don't like that tint. I didn't like that either with the footage that I shot this afternoon. Okay, that's enough testing. Now I'm going to take a picture of this beautiful white paper. And after taking a picture, this is what we get. By the way, I couldn't take a picture because it was too bright. So I had to switch off the lights that are hanging above the lathe. So maybe it is a good idea to use a gray paper instead of a white. There will be less light reflected. White balance looks fine, by the way. And this is automatic white balance. It looks a bit cold. Let's see if it changes if I keep my hands a bit longer in front of the lens. I don't see a whole lot of change on the camera screen. But maybe it's noticeable on the computer. Okay, I think we're done here. Now I need to move the setup to the old barn next door. Welcome back in the old barn. Let's switch on some lights, because it's pretty dark here. But we're having fun. Okay, this is still automatic white balance. Two-handed white balance testing. All in the same night. I think it looks better than this afternoon. Okay, let's take a picture of this white paper. I had to move the paper and the other stuff a little bit so it would be in the center of the screen. But that looks good again. Next, let's try out 4000 Kelvin. And now this is 4000 Kelvin. And again, the rest stays all the same. F4, ISO 800, 1/50 shutter time. It actually is a bit overexposed according to the light meter, but that goes down quickly when I remove the white paper. Okay, I think we're done here. I'll have to get the video light and switch on the room light. Walking around the weed whacker, and now I bumped the video light against a bicycle that is hanging from the ceiling. I think I will also switch on the extra fluorescent light that is hanging above the lathe, because we need all the light we can get. The camera is still at 4000 Kelvin. On the camera screen it looks good enough. Turning the screen around so I can wave it myself. Here's the white paper, and it's getting a bit oily. Alright, next I'm going to set the camera to automatic white balance. So this is automatic white balance. It looks a bit colder, but I might be mistaken. Okay, now I need to make a photograph of this white paper again. Again, the camera was complaining about the scene being too bright. So I had to switch off the video light. I really should print out a grey card, or at least something that's a bit darker than a piece of white paper. Hopefully that will work better. Turning around the screen and now waving at myself. Hi there. Alright, that's enough testing at this setting. Let's switch to automatic white balance. I'm not sure, maybe I already did auto white balance. But I will do it again. At least then I'm sure that I have the footage. Hi there. Here's a piece of white paper. Yay. Okay, now it's time to switch the lens. By the way, I'm getting the impression that the white balance is better without the daylight coming in. But I will have to look at the footage on screen to know for sure. It's just an early impression. And I'm back. I switched the lens, took a leak, and had another sip of my awful Gulpener beer. That's probably overdate, but I'm trying to be a big boy here. Now I'm going to set the camera back to f5.6. That's f5.6, and I'm bumping up the ISO back to 1600. And the camera should still be at automatic white balance. According to the exposure meter, this scene is a little bit underexposed, but only slightly. Another sip of that beer. Okay, time to wave to the camera again, or to the crowd. You know, many moons ago, maybe 20, no, closer to 30 years, my parents and I and my sister and brother, we went on vacation in Gulpen, that is on the other side of the Netherlands, in Limburg. And if I'm not mistaken, Gulpen is also a river, or the river is called Gulp, not sure there. I forgot. I mostly did a whole lot of skateboarding in the hills there. That was cool. I still have the skateboard hanging in the barn. You know what? I will add it in a picture. Alright, let's go to 4000 Kelvin. And to be honest, this doesn't look great on the camera screen. There's a bit of a greenish tint. Automatic white balance looked a lot better. Oh, I bumped into the tripod again. I had to flip the camera screen so I can wave to myself again. And here's a white paper. What? A white paper? Yeah, a white paper. And we are going to take a photograph of it. Again, the scene was too bright for the white balance picture, so I had to turn off the video light. Which shouldn't matter, because the other lights have the same, or should have the same color temperature. But I'm not 100% sure on that. They look very similar. At least they are not meat tubes. You know, the ones that have a reddish tint. The butcher uses those to make the meat look better. Hi there. And here's the white paper again. Looks better than automatic white balance. Okay, now let's repeat this at the table, and then we should be done. I better have another sip of that awful beer. Welcome back at the table, and as you can see, I have almost finished my bottle of beer. But maybe I threw most of it outside. Who will ever know? You wouldn't even know if I took a sip there. I actually did, it sucked. Alright, we're still shooting 4000 Kelvin. Let's have a look at this label. And my white paper, famous for a whole lot of pictures. And of course I need to wave my hand a little. It all looks good. Let's move to automatic white balance. Okay, this is automatic white balance. Hi there, I don't see you. Okay, now I can see you. Opener label. The winter beer that has been emptied before winter. Next I need to take a picture of this white paper again. That is slowly turning not so white. The picture was successful this time. The camera wasn't complaining about too much light. Here's that label again. Maybe I should readjust the focus a bit. That's better. I think the colors look fine again. Like I said before, without the daylight, the auto white balance system appears to be working better, at least on the camera screen. But I will know for sure once I check it on the computer. Okay, last sip and we're done for the night. Then I'm going to get some tea, a real man's drink. Ugh.